Hello students, this is Jayapai speaking. In this class, let us study something about secondary and tertiary treatment of sewage. In our previous class, we discussed something about sewage and primary treatment. Now, primary treatment basically consists of four steps or four methods. Screening, silt and grit removal, oil and grease removal, and sedimentation. Just brushing up our memory, screening is a physical process that is used to remove large suspended and floating matter from sewage. This is accomplished by using bar screens or mesh screens, which will retain all the large floating and suspended matter and allows the water to pass through it. And second one, it is silt and grit removal. Silt is nothing but sand, soil or mud particles. Grit is nothing but broken glass. All these particles are heavier and these are removed using grit chambers. Oil and grease removal. Oil, grease if any present in sewage means that is converted first into a soapy mixture and then compressed air is blown through it, resulting in the formation of a froth or a foam that gets collected at the top of the sewage containing oil and grease. From there, that can be easily skimmed off. Sedimentation, it is a process to remove finely suspended particles. This is carried out using coagulants and the process adopted is coagulation. Coagulants commonly used potash, alum and ferrous sulfate. Now in today's class, let us see something about secondary treatment of sewage, that is also called activated sludge process, and it is also known as biological treatment. So secondary treatment is also known as a biological treatment and the method is known as activated sludge method or activated sludge process. In this method, decomposition of the organic impurities takes place in the presence of aerobic bacteria. This method converts organic impurities into carbon dioxide and water by the action of aerobic bacteria. What is being done is the sewage water after the primary treatment, that is all the steps, screening, removal of silt and grit, removal of oil and grease and sedimentation. After all those steps, the water we get that is taken to a large tank as shown here and air is continuously circulated. Now water is kept in constant agitation, that is by the circulation of air, and some amount of sludge is also added here. That sludge is nothing but greasy semi-solid substance. Sludge is a thick greasy semi-solid substance that is containing microorganisms. So I repeat, sludge is nothing but it is somewhat thick greasy kind of substance. It is a semi-solid which contains microorganisms. During primary sedimentation process, the substance that is coagulated may be considered as a sludge, and that sludge is called a primary sludge. It may not contain large amount of microorganisms, but it may contain average amount of microorganisms, and this sludge is added to the aeration tank and air is continuously passed into the aeration tank. So what happens is when water is continuously aerated here, all the organic impurities present in the sewage, they get decomposed into carbon dioxide and water. First step taking place, the microorganisms present in the activated sludge. Microorganisms present in the activated sludge, they attack on the organic matter of the sewage. And decompose them into carbon dioxide and water. So this is important. The microorganisms present in the sludge, they decompose, they attack actually the organic matter of the sewage and they decompose them into carbon dioxide and water. In addition to this is the main reaction taking place. In addition to this, organic nitrogen, if any, that is converted into ammonium salts, and organic phosphorus, if any, is converted into phosphate. So these are the three changes taking place that is during biological treatment, that is by the action of microorganisms present in a sludge. And these microorganisms they attack on the organic matter of the sewage and they decompose them into carbon dioxide and water. And organic nitrogen, if any, that is converted into ammonium salts, and organic phosphorus, if any, is converted into phosphate. Moving on. So this is another activated sludge, water treatment unit. In this sewage from primary treatment that is to be sent into this tank. In this you have water, all the organic matter. Organic matter mainly contains carbon and hydrogen and some amount of oxygen also. And it is continuously aerated. Air is being circulated continuously because water is kept in constant agitation, that is by the circulation of air. This biomass, this organic substance that gets decomposed into carbon dioxide and water. This gets decomposed into carbon dioxide and water, and organic nitrogen, if any, that is converted into ammonium salts, and organic phosphorus, if any, that is converted into phosphates. After this process is carried out for several hours, then that water is passed into, that is sedimentation tank. This water is passed into sedimentation tank. In the sedimentation tank, the waste, the sludge that gets settled down. The upper portion of the water it will be clearer, and that effluent it is taken for a tertiary treatment as it is having a less organic load. The BOD of this water is comparatively less. BOD means biological oxygen demand, because almost all the organic impurities are completely converted into carbon dioxide and water, and sludge gets settled here. That sludge, a part of the sludge now, it is called activated sludge, and this activated sludge is rich in microorganisms. The part of that sludge again taken for treating next batch of sewage water, and remaining sludge it can be disposed of or it can be used as a manure. So same thing is being shown here. This water is taken for a secondary sedimentation, because in the primary treatment once sedimentation is done, now it is taken for the secondary sedimentation. Then all the sludge that gets settled down, the excess sludge that is used for manure or it may be disposed of, and small amount of the sludge it is taken back, that is to treat the fresh batch of fresh batch of sewage. Now this purified effluent, it is also it contains some ammonium salts, some phosphates, etc. All these things can be removed, that is in the next treatment, that is called tertiary treatment. Now the clear effluent it is sent to tertiary treatment. The part of the activated sludge, whatever it is, that is used for treating fresh batch of sewage, and the rest is disposed of or it is used as a manure. The effluent from the secondary treatment it has much lower organic load, because all the organic impurities are converted into carbon dioxide and water. Moving on, now it is the tertiary treatment. In the tertiary treatment, the aim of the tertiary treatment is to purify the water further, because in the secondary treatment organic nitrogen is converted into ammonium salts and organic phosphorus is converted into phosphate salts. Now how to remove these ammonium salts and phosphates? That is the first step, removal of phosphate. Now phosphate to be removed or ammonium salts to be removed, it is enough if you add calcium hydroxide to the effluent obtained from the secondary treatment. When calcium hydroxide is added, that maintains a pH of about 10 to 11. Then phosphates, if any, they get precipitated as calcium phosphate, and ammonium, if any, that gets released as ammonia gas. So phosphates are converted into calcium phosphate, that is getting precipitated, and ammonium salts, it is getting converted into ammonia, that is gas. Next step, it is sedimentation. Sedimentation process we have already studied, that is in primary treatment. Same thing, that is using coagulants, and most commonly used coagulants are potash, alum and ferrous sulfate. When these are added to sewage water, they get precipitated as aluminium hydroxide and ferrous hydroxide respectively. These precipitates are heavier. They entrap all the finely suspended particles present in water and make them settle down. And next it is filtration. These are the last stages where we want to get highly pure water. That is why we are adopting all these methods. Now filtration, it is done, that is using conventional sand filter beds. So filtration is done, that is using conventional sand filter beds, that is to remove the last traces of suspended matter. So this is one sand filter bed. Here it is, you have some type of sand particles, and these particles are not tightly packed, and here you have another sand bed where sand particles are tightly packed. Now water is made to enter through this inlet, and if any trace impurities are there, means they will get stuck here, and then it passes through this biological matrix or biological film containing that is algae, protozoa, etc. It acts as a very good filtering substance, and through this water penetrates, and it percolates through this tightly packed sand filter bed. And here, if any small amount of trace substances, if any floating matter is there, means that get stuck here, and pure water absolutely free from trace amount of impurities, it can be collected through this outlet, and that water, it is called treated water. And this sand filter, conventional sand filter beds, they are largely being used to remove last traces of suspended matter. Moving on. Now degasification. Degasification, you know that in water some gases like ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, phosphine, carbon dioxide may be present in a dissolved form. If these gases are there for long time, means they produce obnoxious smell. So sewage produces a bad or offensive smell, and that is why degasification is done. In degasification, that is largely being done in a degasifier. That is done in a degasifier. It is a chamber actually. It's a large tower into which water is made to trickle down through the perforated plates. So water is fed here through the hopper. Water is fed, and it is allowed to trickle down, that is through the perforated plates. So all these are perforated plates through which water is allowed to trickle down, and these perforated plates are supported by steam jackets. So plates are quite hot, and as a result, because of the high temperature and large surface area here, the dissolved gases, if any, that get completely stripped off, and all the gases are completely removed from the vacuum pump, and whatever water comes down here, that is absolutely free from the dissolved gases. And the next, it is a disinfection. Now you know that in water some pathogenic bacteria or disease causing bacteria may be present, and they are to be destroyed completely, and the process involved is disinfection. Among the many disinfectants available, chlorine is cheaper and it is more effective. So among the many disinfectants known or available, chlorine is found to be the cheaper disinfectant, and it is more effective in killing the pathogenic bacteria. Chlorine reacts with water and it forms a hypochlorous acid and also hydrochloric acid. This hypochlorous acid actually unionized in the form of unionized form. This hypochlorous acid attacks the cell walls of the bacteria and it kills them. So cell walls of the bacteria are attacked by unionized hypochlorous acid, and as a result all the disease causing bacteria will be killed. And UV light can also be passed through the water in order to kill pathogenic bacteria. So pathogenic bacteria can also be killed, that is by using UV light. After all the types of the treatments, the final composition of the water, if we check, that is BOD is less than 1 ppm, that is biological oxygen demand, and ammonium salts in the water is less than 1 ppm, and phosphate salts it is less than 1 ppm. The water, after all the different types of treatments we discussed, starting from primary, secondary, tertiary, and involving all the different methods there, has high clarity. And now if you check the water, it has high clarity. It is absolutely free from odor, because we have removed all the odor causing gases, that is from water, and it is low BOD because we have subjected it to secondary treatment, that is biological treatment, and it is absolutely free from pathogenic bacteria, that is because we have treated it with the chlorine, which is found to be a very good disinfectant. So now that water is found to be absolutely water free from all the types of impurities, and this water is now fit for drinking purposes. That is what experts say. When the water is subjected to these type of treatments, that is primary, secondary and tertiary treatment, the resultant water at the end of all the three treatments, it will be having high clarity. It is absolutely free from odor. It is it doesn't contain any pathogenic bacteria. It is having low BOD. It is having ammonium and phosphate concentrations less than 1 ppm. So I feel that this concept is very, very easy, and if you listen to me, if you listen to this video once, that is more than enough. That is because it is like information. After listening you can understand, but still if you have some small doubts, anytime you can call your teacher and get your doubts clarified. As far as primary, secondary and tertiary treatment are concerned, secondary treatment is important as far as examination point is concerned. Therefore please study well, that is activated sludge method, that is biological treatment or a secondary treatment of sewage. Whereas primary and tertiary treatment, it's not that they are not important. I have told it is only as far as examination point is concerned. Thank you.